here.
Right in.
So, yeah, we're on the break.
Yep.
And, I'll hand over to you.
Okay.
Half
an hour, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got half an hour.
Okay.
Right?
No
yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't fix the issue here with the streaming. Don't know why.
Okay. No,
Maybe for next time we'll find a solution.
Possibly.
Don't know. It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll count down for you, and then I have to take a break and let you just speak, right?
No bother.
Yeah. After 2 hours.
I'll bring you in for your opinion later on.
Yeah, I'll tell you when I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. So tune down here, and I'll have a jingle after that, and then I'll pull you in.
Okay.
So you can take over here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now our English section has started. We will be listening to Neil Foster of Reality Bytes. Welcome to the show. Take over.
Thank you for having me again. Reality Bytes Radio. Actually, I'm not in the UK. I'm actually in Florida, but I'm just looking at stuff in the UK anyway, because that's where I'm originally from. It's funny, the last couple of weeks we've had an Asian air crash, another plane just gone down, and it's a big mystery. And just today or yesterday, bits of the plane were found. That story's all over, isn't it? But in the meantime, we've had Prince Andrew being accused of paedophilia by associating with a convicted child trafficker who got a very light sentence due to the influence of Bill Clinton making sure he got off the hook, because Bill Clinton's in his little black book as well, which has unfortunately just disappeared apparently since the unfortunate death of I think it's a butler or something of Mr. Epstein, who just died suddenly, and the book is a mystery as to where it is, and it's got all the names in it of all these perverts that Mr. Epstein was doing business with little boys and girls. But what a great distraction, isn't it? Hey, Paris. What a great distraction, and Andrew's disappeared from the news now. And I believe the Queen sent condolences to Francois Hollande in France for the loss of 12 of his citizens. But she should have said merci beaucoup, mon ami, for getting Andrew out the newspapers, because that's all it seems to have achieved. And looking at some of the stuff that's going on around this Paris shooting, it stinks to high heaven. Again, CNN reporting that an ID card of one of the brothers was found at the scene. Well, how does that happen? Unless somebody puts it there. Do you think these guys wanted to be caught? No, of course they didn't, because it wasn't a suicide mission. They planned to escape. So it's just a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? It's like the magic passport at 9/11, isn't it? And these people who leave things in the back of cars so you can identify them. Why would you do that when you clearly intend to escape? But anyway, we'll get on to Prince Andrew in a minute. But here's what has been touted as in France now. France's 9/11. After France's 9/11, this land will never be the same again. I don't know which land they're talking about, because I'll come on to something else that's happening in the UK now after this one. The dignity and defiance of the Je suis Charlie rallies has been impressive, but there are still question marks hanging over France's unity. Well, there's question marks actually over where they got all these banners so quickly, I would imagine. You can't get these things printed on a whim. And there was hundreds or thousands of these things just printed up just like that on the day of the shootings. Just a coincidence. It's almost like they had them ready, isn't it? A banner headline in Le Monde reads Le 11, I think is French for 11, Septembre Français. More than 3,000 people were slaughtered in the attacks on New York's Twin Towers and Washington in 2001. By who? 12 people died in the Charlie Hebdo massacre. An exaggerated headline? Well, it says here, no, perfectly justified. Well, I'll say it's not perfectly justified, because I reported a couple of weeks ago on I think it was 39 or 40 people slaughtered at a wedding in Afghanistan because the British and American trained Afghani army had fired a rocket at it. There's a massacre for you. But that's not all over the media, is it? And I believe today, I think they're talking about 2,000 people killed by those Al-Shabaab or whatever they want to call themselves in Nigeria. Where's that? A little sub-headline, 3 or 4 pages down at the websites of these major newspapers. There are other differences between the attacks. Well, the one significant difference, one significant similarity I would say is that certainly 9/11 was a false flag, and I certainly believe this one is as well. The modern history of the United States falls into 2 periods, before 9/11 and after 9/11. In the history of France, there will be a before 1/7 and after 1/7. They like sevens, don't they? We have 7/7 in the UK, but this is 1/7. I wonder if we're going to get 2 to 6 sometime in the future. But of course, in the UK and in France for that matter, it's 7/1. It's not 1/7, so I don't know why they're using the American disambiguation for that. The assault on the US came from the outside. The country's sense of invulnerability was shattered. Its reaction was the Patriot Act, the Iraq War, Guantanamo Bay, repression, aggression, and paranoia. I see they've not mentioned Afghanistan here for some reason. That's where they went first. The Charlie Hebdo attack came, in a sense, from within. The Kouachi brothers were born in Paris, close to the Gare du Nord, less than a mile from the scene of the outrage, and they just happened to know who they were right away. Because they had a convenient ID card left on the scene. Unlike the US in 2001, France knew itself to be in danger from terrorism. The country was in the midst of a bile-filled argument about the supposed threats to French core identity and cherished Republican values from 5 million French Muslims. The Kouachi brothers, knowingly or not, chose their target well. Not many read the scurrilous mockery on all your houses humour of Charlie Hebdo. It represents nonetheless something elemental in France's idea of itself. Charlie represents not just freedom of speech, but France's love of vituperative wit. Its truculence, its fundamental good humour, its dissatisfaction with anyone in authority, its sense of permanent rebellion. Well, as I say, this article is from the Independent today. Why are none of the major TV studios and newspapers attacked? Why is it always the little ones? Because the big ones are all in on it, that's why. 2 of the cartoonists who died, Walensky and Kabu, were old men. In their style of humour, they were still teenagers, still taking part in the May 1968 student rebellion. On the day of the attack, the novelist Michael Houellebecq, a different kind of enfant terrible, published a novel called Submission. The book imagines a France post-2022, when a moderate strain of radical Islam has conquered the country. Freedom of speech has not been suppressed, but has been muffled and distorted. Well, that's been going on in Britain for many, many years. It's got nothing to do with Muslims. It's to do with successive governments taking away all their right to free speech and political correctness. That Soviet system that was used in Stalin's time. Late last year, another enfant terrible, the anti-Islamic essayist Eric Zemmour, suggested that the presence of 5 million Muslims would inevitably bring civil war. Well, that's what they want, isn't it? He suggested that Muslims should be repatriated. But as Mr. Zemmour well knows, most of them, like the Kouachis, are French. The attack on... Well, how did they become French? Well, the attack on Charlie Hebdo was, therefore, like a coming to life of the most lurid visions of an existential Islamic threat to France's inner being. It may have dark consequences for a country already weakened by economic woes and rejection of traditional ruling classes. They want new ruling classes, do they? And define what a traditional ruling class is. We're told that politicians rule us, but we know better than that, don't we? I think the bankers are the true ruling class on the planet, and they even fund royals, so I wouldn't even say the royals are. But that's why some of them are expendable, I guess, like this Andrew character. Maybe he's going to be thrown to the wolves after all, so they can distract attention away from his elder brother. Charlie boy. It's funny this is called Charlie Hebdo, Yeah, Prince Charles, that good buddy of Jimmy Savile's, who spent weekends up in his Highland cottage with all those bunk beds for children. Maybe that's what he's doing, because Charlie's to be the king, isn't he? And this cretin Andrew was only 5th in line, so he's got no chance. So he's expendable, I guess. In other words, we are all in this together. Really? White, brown and black, left or right, Muslim, Catholic or Jewish. Now, I've said it before, I've never seen a white person or a black person in my life. It's interesting to put brown in here because all so-called black people are just different shades of brown. And there's nobody white we're all kind of different shades of flesh tones or whatever. You know, if you see a white person, there's something wrong with them. It's called death. And if you see a black person, it's somebody who's been burnt. That's simple. President Francois Hollande has tried to convey this message. Yes, we will be firm. Yes, we will crack down on terrorists. But please let us have no sweeping generalisations, no prejudices, no assumptions. The country has been struck in its heart, he said. It is time to come together. Or let's all just be one big happy family, as these psychopaths set us all against each other, despite what they say. Contrast this, however, with former President Nicolas Sarkozy, who has twice spoken of the Charlie Hebdo attack as a war of civilizations. His own former Justice Minister Rachidi Dati of North African origin protested yesterday that this was absurdly inflammatory. If the West is engaged in a war of civilizations, she asked, what is the other civilization? Al-Qaeda, ISIS, or simply Islam? And it's ISIS, eh? It is what it is. A fake organisation. Consider also the response of Marie Le Pen's Front National, which has simultaneously supported the We Are All in This Together line and blamed immigration. There have also been attacks on mosques and other Muslim targets. France has many poisonous political extremes. Political extremes love to feed off one another. Well, they want extremist parties in. That's what it's all about. So maybe this is going to help Mr. Le Pen, I guess. The dignity and defiance of the Je suis Charlie rallies has been impressive. The mostly young, mostly urban people at these believe that they are defending core values of openness, tolerance and decency. They believe they are, yeah. They don't know. And before 1/7, well, that's what we're going to brand it now, I guess. France was stumbling uncertainly towards an uncertain future. Post 1/7, will there be a lasting backlash of unity and pride, or will divisions grow deeper and more menacing? Well, of course they'll grow deeper and more menacing because that's what it's intended for. But this is what's happening in the UK now. After this, we can't have another 7/7 quite yet, but they'll use any shooting or whatever across the world to bring this stuff in. After Charlie Hebdo attack, do spy agencies need more powers? And if it is the case that more surveillance powers are required, what should Whitehall demand in terms of extra oversight? The timing of the speech by the head of MI5, Andrew Parker, may have looked cynical. Do you think so? A call for more surveillance powers for the intelligence agencies on Thursday, the day after the attack on Charlie Hebdo's office. In fact, Parker had long planned this speech. That's all you need to know. He'd long planned this speech, and he was just waiting for the right moment to give it. And almost all of it had been written, other than a few paragraphs, before the gruesome events unfolded in Paris. But the timings of the events are still lucky for MI5. Lucky, yeah. The mass murder's lucky these days. At the satirical magazine and in the streets outside, brought home the reality of what the agency is up against. Yeah, inside jobs. That's what it's up against, if it's not involved in them itself. Politicians such as Chancellor George Osborne, unsurprisingly, offered Parker unequivocal support, saying MI5 and the other intelligence agencies, MI6 and the surveillance arm of GCHQ would receive the resources they need. So there's more money to spy on us all. The chairman of the Parliamentary Intelligence Committee, Sir Malcolm Rifkind, a complete buffoon, whose remit is supposed to be oversight of the agencies, also offered his support. He told the BBC, well it must be true then, that terrorists use the internet, email and social messaging, so intelligence agencies have to have the power to intercept particularly international communications that might be relevant to preventing terrorist attacks. Do we really think that terrorists are using email and internet and social media to do this kind of stuff? It's absurd, and it's a ridiculous notion to think they'd be that stupid when they know it's all been watched. Few would want to deny the intelligence agencies the resources they need, especially against the backdrop of the warning by Parker that an attack on the UK is not only highly likely, but the agencies might not be able to stop it. Well, they can't stop it when their own agencies are working against them, can they, and causing it? But there's discussion to be had over what is meant by resources. Parker is not looking for more money. Osborne has already given the intelligence agencies £100 million to help counter Islamist militants returning to the UK from Syrian and Iraqi front lines. Why don't they just not let them in? It's quite simple. What Parker was talking about and what he devoted half his speech to is more surveillance powers. He said that it has become harder to intercept the communications of terrorists, in part because of the increased use of encryption. Yeah, as if MI5 and MI6 don't know how to get around amateur encryption, eh? What the Home Secretary Theresa May and Osborne are looking for is the reintroduction of the Snoopers Charter, because it got rejected the last time, eh? So they had to have a reason to bring it back in. And how convenient that this has happened when Prince Andrew's been accused of sodomising little boys and girls, I guess, allegedly. Blocked by Liberal Democrat Nick Clegg. There are similar moves by the intelligence services in the US, surprise, surprise. The new head of GCHQ, Robert Hannigan, made a similar plea late last year. And they're all at it. Every one of them is going to use this because I guess that's what its intended purpose is, apart from the distraction from child molester, alleged child molester. I said Charlie Boy, but I'll include him as well, Andrew. But here we go. After Charlie Hebdo attack, do spy agencies need more powers? And you scroll down. This is all in the Guardian today. And here's the related stories. David Cameron, we will give the security services whatever they need. I wonder what that means. George Osborne, protecting Britons from terrorism is top priority. Well, how about all these guys go and jump off the cliffs of Dover, and then terrorism will stop overnight? It's quite simple. MI5 chief seeks new powers after Paris magazine attack. And then this guy, Trevor Tim, in The Guardian. The Charlie Hebdo attack was a strike against free speech, so why is the response more surveillance? Because, as you well know, Trevor Tim, that's the agenda. So writing that nonsense just proves what an idiot you are. But Prince Andrew, he's got off the hook, hasn't he? They're writing about him now, if they're writing at all, as if the story's gone. It's all over. Done and dusted. They made the denials, and that's it. It's going nowhere. But who is this guy, anyway? Another royal parasite, living off the taxpayers' back. Andrew has been a British prince from birth. His present style and title in full is His Royal Highness, the Prince Andrew Albert Christian Edward, Duke of York, Earl of Inverness, Baron Killyleagh, Knight Companion of the Most Noble Order of the Garter, Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, the Canadian Forces Decoration Aide-de-Camp to Her Majesty. He became entitled to be called, albeit academically, His Grace, the Lord High Commissioner to the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, because, hey, he loves God, doesn't he? He's a religious guy, but I'm not quite sure which God it is he loves. But carrying on with this, Charlie Boy and Jeffrey Epstein. Sorry, Andrew. I keep getting these two mixed up, but I guess they're both at the same thing, eh? I'll scroll down here to this Epstein story, if I can get to it. Well, I'll just touch on this one. Never mind he's been accused of raping children. Prince Andrew buys £13 million ski lodge. That's this week. Never mind the sex slave scandal. Prince and Fergie snap up Snow Palace. This is his supposed ex-wife that he was living with over there on a skiing holiday. Prince Andrew and his ex-wife have secretly splashed out on a Swiss ski chalet thought to be worth up to £13 million. I don't know. Debt lives in Switzerland. I don't know if you've heard about this. The Duke and Duchess of York bought the 7-bedroom property in upmarket Verbier shortly before Christmas as a family investment, with the deeds listing them simply as Andrew York and Sarah Ferguson. That's not his name. It is the same property that the divorced couple was staying in last week when claims that the prince had sex with an underage girl were made in documents lodged at a US court. Sources in Switzerland say the chalet is worth between £10 million and £13 million, although it is not clear how much the couple paid. A source close to the Duchess told the Mail that she and Andrew took out a joint mortgage on the property and did not buy it outright. It is not known what proportion of the purchase was funded by the mortgage. The development shows how close the pair still are, even though they separated in 1992 after 6 years of marriage and divorced 4 years later. But it also raises questions as to how they can afford the chalet. Well, they can afford it because they get all their money from the British taxpayer. That's how they can afford it. And it's way too much, obviously, which is up to 6 permanent staff, including a chef. Andrew is not known to have a vast private fortune. Well, just because he's not known to have it doesn't mean he's not got it. While Sarah only recently managed to clear £5 million in debts she ran up through a series of disastrous business investments. Well, you know, she got in with the royals, so I guess it was a good business investment for her. It goes on, but I'm not going to even read any more of that. The contact Jeffrey Epstein. Here we go. Inside the decade of scandal entangling Prince Andrew. It's just a scandal. He just seems to get involved with the wrong kinds of people. How a telephone call set off a cascade of FBI investigations, secret plea deals and lawsuits from Palm Beach, Florida to Buckingham Palace as questions resurface over whether the disgraced financier used his wealth and power to elude justice. I don't think there's any questions about it. He used Bill Clinton to help him out. I wonder what he's got on Bill Clinton, eh? I wonder. But the Prince Andrew connection. Of all Epstein's glamorous and influential friends, none has had their reputation as tarnished by their association with the disgraced financier as badly as the Queen's second son. What reputation did he need to be tarnished? He's been tarnished since birth. Apparently this guy's been involved in all sorts of scandals, arms deals, going golfing with leaders in Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, I think, where those are brutal dictatorships, but they're good friends of his. The Prince's relationship with the Playboy hedge fund manager and paedophile had for years been cited as evidence of his poor judgment, and it contributed 3 years ago to the termination of Andrew's cherished role as an official UK trade envoy. I wonder what he was trading. Was it the same as Epstein, perhaps? Little boys and girls. Andrew and Epstein made curious acquaintances. While Andrew benefited from a privilege bestowed by a British royal title, Epstein's ascent is a classic American success story. Yeah, right. He was born in a rough Brooklyn neighbourhood and never obtained a college degree. In 1976, he was plucked from a seemingly ordinary life as a mathematics teacher at a Manhattan private school in 1976 and given a job at the investment bank Bear Stearns. He was just plucked from obscurity, wasn't he? I wonder why. Within 6 years, he was working on his own, managing the portfolios of an exclusive and secret club of plutocrats. Interesting word, eh? Said only include billionaires. The scale of Epstein's own net worth has long been a mystery, although the financier made little effort to conceal how he was spending his fortune. Epstein became a major philanthropist. Don't they all, eh? Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Rockefeller, spending millions on science projects at Harvard University. I wonder what kind of projects, eh? And was famous for his extravagant parties. He was a modern-day Great Gatsby, enjoying bringing together film stars, property magnates, and political leaders. Andrew reportedly met Epstein in the 1990s after being introduced by Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of the media mogul Robert Maxwell, who at the time was a financier's girlfriend. They're all in it together, right enough, there's that phrase, eh? The friendship returned to haunt Andrew this week, courtesy of one of the dozens of women the FBI identified as one of Epstein's potential victims. As one of Epstein's potential victims, Virginia Roberts. Like dozens of the other teenagers, Roberts sued Epstein. The civil claim she lodged in a Florida court 6 years ago told a familiar story of exploitation. Her civil suit, in which Roberts is referred to as Jane Doe 102, I think she was referred to as Jane Doe number 3, I think, alleged that Ghislaine Maxwell, now 53, and Epstein quickly began grooming her for sex, despite being told by Epstein on the cusp of her 16th birthday that she would soon have to trade her in because she was getting too old. Roberts alleged she was thrust into a life of sexual servitude that lasted until 2002, when she fled to Thailand, aged 19. So this is who Andrews alleged to have abused on 3 separate occasions. But if there's one, there's got to be more, isn't there? You would imagine. But in one important way, Roberts' allegations differ from those of many of the other Florida teenage girls who say they were victims of Epstein. So it's only the one girl, and she was 17 at the time, apparently. And what's going to be said here down the line is, well, 17 is legal in the UK, or that she told me she was 18, or something like that. It's not like he was screwing a 6-year-old, is it? Well, not that he's been caught doing yet. But it doesn't have the same horror as that would, does it? 17, oh well, nearly legal. But not in Florida. During the 4 years she claimed to have been a fixture in Epstein's hedonistic world, she claimed she saw Epstein and his close associates abuse women from across the world, including 3 French 12-year-olds who she alleged were sent to him as a birthday present. I wonder from who. That lawsuit did not identify any alleged perpetrators other than Maxwell and Epstein. You're known by the friends you keep, aren't you? And he was still keeping this pervert as a friend well after he served his prison sentence for trafficking young girls and boys, no doubt. And he only got prosecuted on 1 charge when there were 40 charges laid against him, I believe. But Bill Clinton stepped in and helped him out with that, and he only served 13 months of an 18-month sentence. To be rich and famous, eh? But Roberts' lawsuit did imply there was more to her story. One elliptical reference alleged that Epstein required her to be sexually exploited by politicians, academicians, businessmen. These men were described in the document as Epstein's adult male peers, including royalty. Epstein and Roberts settled the lawsuit out of court, with Epstein paying Roberts just as he paid a series of other girls who were suing him an undisclosed sum in compensation. So you can just pay for people. You can just pay to get your sentence reduced or charges dropped. There's justice for you. What's the point of going to court? Well, we know there's none. Her cryptic allegation was about royalty may never have been clarified were it not for the 13-page document submitted to Florida's Southern District last week. That court filing related to the long-running lawsuit in which lawyers for some of the victims are challenging Epstein's controversial plea deal. It was being brought by two women, Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2. Roberts' lawyers wanted her and another woman listed as Jane Doe 3 and Jane Doe 4 to be added as new plaintiffs. The document briefly argued the case and summarised the two women's allegations. That summary elaborated on the claims that Roberts had made in her 2009 lawsuit about being loaned out by Epstein to rich and powerful men. But of course, Buckingham Palace has denied all this strenuously 3 times, and yet they don't want to comment on Andrew and Fergie buying a £13 million mansion in Switzerland. They just don't want to comment on that. Funny, eh? Detlev, is that story broken in Switzerland?
Sorry, can you repeat this?
Is that story about Andrew and Fergie buying the Swiss mansion broken in Switzerland?
Yeah, well, not really. I mean, we are always referring usually to English-speaking sources, and I discussed this here in my shows. But usually, you don't read a lot of that. It's too far away. Even the Terror Act here in Paris is only reflected through Rothschild's press agencies, right? So only this kind of information is really penetrating here. So the connect with Prince Andrew is not being really discussed here.
Well, it's nice you've now got an alleged pervert and his very peculiar ex-wife now have a home in Switzerland. So you might hear something. Yeah. You might hear something about him in the future, and I bet it won't be good. Yeah. I bet it won't be good. But I mean, he's got a number of houses, this guy, and nobody can understand where he gets his money, except from the British taxpayer. And his lucrative business investments with foreign presidents in the likes of Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, of all places. But he has I think it's a 30-room mansion, which he pays just £250 a week for. It's not bad, is it? Yeah. So I was paying for a one-bedroom. They call them cluster homes because they're all clustered together in the UK just before I came over here, and it was £600 a week.
Yeah, but don't forget that you are just a slave.
Oh, I know.
In their point of view, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. We may not think that about ourselves, but that's the way they look at us. You know?
Well, okay. I mean, just brushing on. We've got 3 minutes left. Here's a story that came out today. English farmers could grow commercial GM crops for the first time, and a landmark ruling by the European Parliament, of course, is this week expected to give ministers the power to approve genetically modified crops. Genetically modified crops could be grown commercially by English farmers for the first time, and these produce will appear on the shelves of British supermarkets. Well, I don't know if anybody's looked around the shelves in a British supermarket, but there's loads of GM stuff there already. They don't have to grow it in Britain to do that. Most of it comes from Spain, I believe, but where there's supposed to be a European ban, but doesn't seem to apply to Europe for some reason. But counter this with this is today. Lavish Lords restaurants serving cut-price lobster, caviar, and guinea fowl lose $2 million a year, and you pick up the bill. So the taxpayers paying for all these perverts to eat lobster, caviar, and guinea fowl at a loss to us. And of course, they voted themselves. Well, apart from massive pay rises, they vote themselves the rules and regulations of what can be served in their own restaurants, and that includes no GM. And that was years ago. Yet we've to eat that muck because as you say, we're the slaves. Yep. We're the slaves. So
that's amazing, isn't it?
That's it. But just on a funnier note, this is a thing that came out last week, or actually on January 1st. I thought it was April 1st, and they're talking about wearable technology. Is 2015 the year of the smart bra? Now, I don't know what a smart bra is supposed to tell you, but do you really want something sending signals through your breasts? Ladies. Yeah. I mean, is that a smart bra, or are you just pleased to see me? you know, that kind of thing. It's just absurd that people are going to put this stuff right next to their skin. It's lunacy, absolute lunacy. How do they think this stuff works? You know?
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's not an easy one, is it?
No, but of course they're all getting these gadgets to put on their wrists to monitor the heart rate and everything without jogging and stuff like that. They're monitoring the heart rate as they destroy their hips and their knees and their ankles jogging on pavements. It's idiocy of the highest order. And I believe long distance runners die about 10 years quicker than the average person. So why would you want to jog to stay healthy? We're not built to jog, you know.
Absolutely.
So there you go. I think that's about our time up. And
well, thanks a lot anyways. But well, the issue is obviously we are here discussing the Paris and France issue very deeply. I've been discussing this in the first couple of hours. And it's a tough thing here for Europe because, now it starts over here, because that means a lot of trouble here for us because it's named the 9/11 of France, right?
Yep.
So we all know what that means.
Well, they call it 1/7, so that means that, anybody going, I mean, this is going to do immense damage to France's tourist industry. England's right next door, so you can imagine there are already French people on the English side checking vehicles. I was stopped once going over on the ferry from England to France, and there's English people on the French side. So that's about it. Can I just give the website again and a few guests coming up in the future? Okay, it's realitybytesradio.com. Monday we've got Suzanne Possel of Occupy Corporatism. On Wednesday, we have Alan Franz, the maker of Age of Transitions. And on Thursday, we've got Alan Watt. And on Monday, on the Wednesday as well, we've got Thomas Sheridan, who does a regular Wednesday slot. The following Monday, the 19th, we've got Alan Watt in discussion with Thomas Sheridan, talking about the music industry and the sinister goings on there. We've got Brandon Turbeville of brandonturbeville.com on Tuesday, and Christina England discussing vaccine damage on the following Thursday, the 22nd, and that's it for January, really. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, Neil. For you, it is also a different perspective because you used to live over here in Europe. Basically, no, actually in Scotland.
I lived
right?
in Scotland, Ireland, England, Bulgaria, Turkey, and now I'm in America.
So, and now in America, and things look a little different.
It's a strange kind of place. I think we don't really get a bigger picture where we're located. I think there's aspects to look at, but I do listen to a lot of more American media now, so I kind of get a gist on what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot, Neil, and we'll go on a little break here, and we will be talking to each other after that. And don't forget, we are in our United We Strike radio marathon every second Saturday a month, if we can make it. Usually we can. So tune in and stay on because we are going to have great guests here on. And I'm Detlef here of Wake News Radio, producing from Switzerland. Thank you very much to Neil. And see you then.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Yeah, we will be listening to Tommy Truce's United We Strike, and we'll be right back after that.
Okay, Detlef, talk to you next month.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt and
Neil.
Neil, and we will see you.
Okay, cheers. Right? Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.